Hi, it's Jo and Steve from Freshagenda, and Steve, it's been quite a few weeks since we've been in front of the camera.
Yeah, last time we were wearing active, we were on a balcony in Chicago, which got a lot of comments from some viewers. And but we've been out of practice, and you'll see some of the practice runs in the bloopers that'll eventually arrive as we're a bit rusty getting this going.
Absolutely.
So this week, just a take of what we're seeing and some interesting things that we're pulling out of our analysis. So we're just going to skip through some of the trade insights, a bit about the US situation, this week's GDT result, which was interesting, and rounding up with our usual segment, the chart of the week.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So just firstly to trade, so we're just wrapping up an add-up of our usual monthly trade insights as part of our Global Directions product. And so trade's still growing, but the rate of growth is slowing down. You can see there that while the worm chart looks pretty impressive on the left-hand side, that those bars are getting shorter.
Yeah, it's just tailing off. Yeah, after a very strong period through early 2019.
Yeah, and if we look at the league table, the products all look quite positive. This is a 6-month and 3-month comparison, but they all look very strong, with the exception of whey, of course, and recently lactose. And on the right-hand side, the regions, obviously Southeast Asia is still the dominant growth region, with China trailing just behind, and that's an absolute level. So China as an individual country is still very important to global balance.
For sure, yeah. But it's interesting, it's that Southeast Asia has just put its head in front in the last 3 months, and that's a lot of that skim milk powder out of Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That market.
That's right. And at the foot of the table, you can see what the uncertain oil market is doing to Middle East and North Africa. So quite a contrast. So looking a bit deeper, skim milk powder growth also tailing off, and that's the main reason why the total trade is slowing a bit. Probably some full pipelines, because you can see the price relativity there. Prices are still, been a long, low period of prices for skim.
Still bargains.
Still bargains.
Yeah.
That's right. Prices moving up as the market is firmed, and these are, I think these are shipped prices. So that's showing us what the product's actually landing at. When we look across where that growth has been strongest, obviously Southeast Asia is the dominant region. Several months of very strong growth in tonnage, compared to China on the right, which is obviously smaller, but also quite important. It's the longest period of sustained growth in Asian trade since 2013-14.
Yeah, you can certainly see just in that chart, it's been very patchy in that period from 2014, when China really dominated. But yeah, quite a sustained surge there.
Yeah. And looking at fats, which is a bit of a contrast. So we see that, interestingly, that while there was a recovery underway, it's been a long, steady recovery, it sort of capped out. And we think this is one big reason why, because the developing world is slowing down in terms of demand. Doesn't completely line up with where shipped prices have been, and you can see on the right hand side there, but it might be that long period of high prices has just worked out. Some buyers just gone, no, that's too high.
Yeah, and substituted and not going back. So interesting. Yeah, you would have thought that they might be a bit higher than that in the ship prices.
Yeah, they're healthy falls, though, 20% almost. For most months in the last 6 months, year on year. So that part of the world is pulling back.
Sure. Let's
go across to the US. And this horrible situation with the corn crop. So last estimates, we just looked up what the last word is. Somewhere between 80 and 90% is the expectation of planting done, which is a bit of an improvement from where it was.
They've certainly made up some ground in the last week or so, because it was looking very dire, wasn't it, with the corn crop essentially underwater. They've obviously had some better weather. And made up a lot of ground, but still yields are going to be under a bit of pressure, you would think.
The telling factor. Looking at this in context, so we've seen high corn prices, probably not more recent than 5 years ago. It's quite a long time since they've been this high. This is probably going to be a sustained period, given the damage to the crop. What's the impact on US production? It all comes down to the margin, and the growth has been weaker lately. We've had some numbers out this week. The US contracted again this month in total
in May,
terms. In May. So the margin recovery is going to be stunted by this rise in costs. But I guess the other thing to think about is that yields, this isn't going to play out until Q4 this year and Q1 next year.
Yeah, when this crop becomes available.
That's right. So we would expect to see production impacted, as and the gains in production have come from per cow yield. So
that's right, because the herd's actually shrunk.
So that's a developing situation. Going across to the GDT event this week, which dipped again, third in a row. It's come down. We'd say the peak has passed.
Yes.
In overall returns, pretty dramatically in terms of fats. I guess the only surprise that we get a lot of questions about this is what's happened to skim milk powder. The fundamentals are good.
Yeah, and it's sort of trending upwards in other regions. So, yeah.
But something in the detail to look at is that the New Zealand premium for medium heat product has gone between New Zealand and European prices, so that's evaporated. And that's been working down for the last few weeks or last few events. So it's a bit of a wait and see on the New Zealand season, probably where the European summer goes, and that's certainly the tone in Europe. There's a bit of wait and see happening in terms of what milk production does. And with the pipelines being so full...
That's right, with so much activity early in the year.
So people can sit back and not really worry. So they're a bit of a wait for the direction type thing.
Sure.
And then we go back and look at...
what that means for returns,
Yeah, what that means for returns. I mean, butter prices have certainly tumbled. Coming back to, what is it going to mean for the way that New Zealand deals with milk this year? So butter prices have tumbled, but again, put this into perspective that we've had a long period where New Zealand prices don't exceed EU prices for any length of time.
So they're very unusual.
Yeah, they're coming back to earth, and will probably continue to. Europe's market is softening. Demand is still tentative to weak, so that alignment is keep occurring. So then, what does it mean in New Zealand? So even though we've seen falling whole milk values and skim and butter also correcting, it still favours skim and butter.
Yes.
When we look at GDT landed price, when the prices land in delivery periods, and we add those up as to the weighted average of what it's actually, what the GDT commitments are going to ship at, it still favours skim and butter over coming months. So that's a very quick walk around. Over to you, Joe. Chart of the week.
Yeah, well, staying with GDT actually, Steve. The chart of the week this week is just looking at some of the winter games, you're calling it. It's obviously winter in this part of the world, but just with this run of negative GDT events, just seeing this pattern forming in the last couple of years with buyers just sitting back a little bit over this low seasonal period. Obviously a little bit more product offered in this auction than the previous one, but still the jury's out on New Zealand spring. So people just sitting back and waiting to see what happens. And then we tend to get that spurt of activity once...
late in the year.
Once things are clear. So seeing that again, perhaps.
Looks like it. In early days yet, but... Okay, that's been... Well, we're getting back into this, and it's not so rusty. So I think that's probably a wrap this week. We'll see you again next week, we promise. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me. And you.
And me.